So what are the big principles of these regulations? First, a pediatric development plan, a PIP in Europe, a PSP in the US, that contains all the studies, non-clinical studies and clinical studies that are needed to evaluate whether a drug is effective in a disease in children. And this needs to be granted at the time the company is filing the data for marketing authorization in adults, unless a waiver is granted, which means that the company doesn't have to develop the medicine in children. First, because it's likely to be ineffective or unsafe, which is absolutely common sense. Second, disease is occurring only in adults. And third, there is no significant therapeutic benefits that can be expected over existing treatments, which is also common sense. In addition, the regulation says you can delay the start of pediatric evaluation, the so-called deferral, because of any reason, including there is not enough data in adults to start. So, next step is how the Best Pharmaceutical for Children Act works. This regulation, which is voluntary and proposing for companies doing that, reward the pediatric exclusivity. So please stay tuned and focus. It may look complicated, but it could be probably easy to understand. This is what we try to do with this animated slide. The instrument of the BPCA is a written request. It contains the studies to be done in children. This written request is issued by the Food and Drug Administration to the sponsor. A sponsor can ask the Food and Drug Administration to issue a written request. In this case, the sponsor make a PPSR, proposed pediatric study request, to the FDA, which is then issuing a written request. The written request is an option for the company to voluntarily conduct studies in children. They can say no, or they can develop the studies in a written request. And if they do, if the studies are completed, whatever the results are, whether it is positive or negative, they can get the pediatric exclusivity. They can get the reward. This is the voluntary part of the US regulation proposing reward to companies voluntarily developing drugs in pediatric disease, not only malignancy.